Afternoon, folks, and thank you so much for joining our first episode of Careers and Coffee. I'm absolutely delighted to have Helen Clements of Morgan Sindall Construction talking to us today a little bit more about her role, her career, highs and lows, some of the skills that she thinks she needs and young people have in the construction sector. So I'll bring in Helen.
Hi,
Helen,
everyone.
can you hear me okay?
Yes, absolutely fine. Hello, Jordan, and hello, everybody that's watching.
Afternoon. So how's lockdown been for you so far? I'm sure absolutely exhilarating like the rest of us.
Yes, well, it was an interesting challenge because I went from being out and about all the time with my role across East Anglia to suddenly just working from my desk at home. But yeah, no, I've got into the new routine and I'm busier than ever.
It's always good to hear. So today we're going to talk a little bit about you, talk about the construction sector, lots and lots of different organisations you're involved with, and some of the skills you think young people need in the world of work. But firstly, why don't you tell us a little bit about you? What do you do? What is Morgan Sindall? And then we can take it from there.
Okay, so I said my name's Helen. Morgan Sindall Construction are a main contractor in the construction arena. So what that means is we actually manage the process of a build. We don't actually build anything. We get subcontractors in to do the physical building. The patch I cover, which is East Anglia, we have 3 offices, one in Ipswich, one in Norwich and one in Cambridge. And hopefully soon we'll have one in Essex as well. And across those offices, we build a number of projects, mostly for local authorities and predominantly schools. So about 70% of what we build are schools.
Okay, and so how did you get the role in the first instance as well?
Okay, so I got my job role by somebody I know who works for another main contractor who knew me in doing the role I'm doing now, which is a social value advisor. I was doing this role for another company and she made me aware of the job with Morgan Sindall. And I then applied for it and the rest is history. So 4 years ago, yeah, I joined the company. And my role involves me making sure that our projects deliver added value, so not just the building, but what else are we doing in the community to support the community? So are we making sure we've got local subcontractors on our sites? Are we making sure that we're creating apprenticeship opportunities?
Fantastic.
You know, are we doing something for charity? They're the sorts of things that my role involves.
So you've talked about some of the things that your role involves. What are some of the skills that you use day to day in your role?
Okay, so my top skill I need, and those that know me will know I'm not too bad at it, is talking and communicating.
I'll agree to that, yeah.
And networking, really, because it's through my networks that I can get into schools or have the confidence to go and talk to different people. So, you know, my top skill is networking and communication, but I also have to be, you know, Microsoft Office competent because I have to use that in my administrative part of my job role. I have to be able to not just communicate face to face, but pick up the phone, communicate by emails. In this new world, I'm communicating virtually. So I have to have quite good attention to detail. And I have to have empathy and an understanding of what our clients are looking for and what they want from us. So they're probably, and for my role specifically, I have to be quite self-motivated because I'm not micromanaged at all. My job's a standalone job. I don't have a team of people. It's only me that makes what happens happen every day. Other people support me in the delivery of what needs doing, but the actual setting of my goals, setting of my diary as such is down to me, and it's down to me to manage that. So I have to be quite disciplined and self-motivated to do that.
So, I mean, how do you be so self-disciplined? Because there'll be a lot of young people and students and just everybody who's at home, working from home, and that comes with its own challenges about trying to stay motivated, engaged, and self-disciplined. How do you do that day to day?
Okay, well, I'm relatively lucky in as much as I'm quite a self-motivated person, but what really drives me more than anything else is that whatever I do, and this is in my personal life as well as my business life, I want to make a difference. So that's what motivates me, because if I think that what I'm doing in the day is going to make a difference to somebody, whether it's a work colleague, a young person, a client, family or friends, then it's worth my while doing, and it makes me get up and do it. And I am one of those people that's quite, I can see what my end goal is going to be, and I go for it, and that's what motivates me.
Brilliant. No, that's on. So, I mean, in terms of your own career, what's been some of the highlights?
It's really interesting. So I've had lots of highlights. I suppose my most current one is I'm currently an apprentice, which I find hilarious. But the fact that I'm doing a degree, so I left education with what would be classed as 2 GCSEs in today's money, one of which was English, but I didn't get my maths. I loved school when I was young, but I loved the social side of school. I wasn't necessarily very academic. So for me, every role I've done since I've left education, I've enjoyed. I've been really lucky because I've sort of understood the things I like in a job. So I need people in my job. I need to be able to make a difference in the job I'm doing. I need to have variety. So I think I've understood that from quite an early age. And I've worked in retail. I started my life off as a nanny. Then I went into retail. Then I went into recruitment. And then I've been in the construction industry. And I had a little gap in that when I was working in schools for a charity. So, but all of those jobs have involved people. So for me, the highlights are when I think, that's really made a difference. So if I think about my previous role, I worked with a young person that didn't believe in themselves at all. And I worked really hard, and we were out on the, at Southwold on the thingy-jig boat. I can't think what it's called, but the boat that goes fast on the water. And he didn't want to helmet himself, and that was part of the journey of the day. And eventually me and all the other young people managed to convince him to do it, and literally within 5 minutes of doing it, he suddenly realized he could do so much more than he ever thought he could do. And for me, that was just, I loved it, and I still live off that. And like last year we had work experience in the offices, and some of the difference that makes to the students, and them getting the buzz from knowing they can achieve things.
So just on that, talking about work experience, so you're obviously not doing work experience this year. Is there any ways to do it? Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing virtual work experience. And in fact, we do it next week. And I think currently I've got 31 students that are going to be taking part, because our work, everybody in our office now is working from home unless they're physically on site. The work experience week we have would have been normally based from the office. They would have gone out to site to do a site visit, but the rest of the time they would have been in the office doing their project that way. So actually there is no reason why we can't do it virtually, and because that is how we're all working. So I've spent my last 2 or 3 weeks redesigning the programme so it can be delivered virtually. I found my volunteers, and we're all really excited about seeing 31 young people next week, and looking forward to seeing what their designs look like. So that for me is another highlight of what I'm doing at the moment.
So having in the office working with you for, say, normal work experience, what are some of the skills that you tend to look for when you do have young people in the office with you?
Okay, so the things we're looking for is independent learning, a willingness to learn, communication skills, and this is both verbal and written, really, because you need to be able to do both. And you need to have some resilience, because you need to get out of your comfort zone. You will be doing things that you're not used to doing, and that doesn't matter what age you are. When you start a new job, you're having to meet new people, you're having to learn that company's way of doing things. So you need to be able to have the ability to cope with that, and they're really key. And I think the ability to take on responsibility and make the most of any opportunity will go a long way. That's what's got me through my career, and I've done what I consider to be relatively well. I've worked my way up in every company I've worked with. I've not ever got to really, really senior level, but I've worked my way up, and I've done that with what's equivalent to 2 GCSEs in today's money. And it's because I've made the most of every opportunity that's come my way. I've put myself out to get additional responsibilities, and I've wanted to learn. And I think if you've got those skills and you can ask the questions, so it's asking, and that's why those communication skills are really important. And there are some of our job roles that we recruit for. You need to be good at maths, or you need to be good at the written work. So there are specialities, but I think any business is looking for some basics from everybody. And then it's the technical stuff which we can teach you are the bits that are less of a concern, particularly at entry-level roles.
Definitely. And so you've talked about you're an apprentice at Morgan Sindall. How much do you encourage this of other young people taking that as a pathway post 16?
Okay, so for me, I'm quite passionate about apprenticeships. So we have a whole educational engagement programme that we deliver in schools across East Anglia. And the whole programme is designed to encourage young people to consider construction to come and work in, particularly for Morgan Sindall and our degree level apprenticeships. So historically, our work experience programme feeds our vacancies. It feeds those degree level apprenticeships. Last year, 50% of them were filled by young people that had done work experience with us in the previous 2 years. The year before, 100% of them were filled by young people that had done work experience with us. And over the last 3 years, we've recruited 18 entry-level roles, and 11 of them have had some form of either education engagement with us or work experience with us. So it makes heaps of difference, and that is the reason we do it is because we want to find the best talent, and we want young people to know the amazing opportunities they have in a sector that leaves buildings all over the planet. How cool is that?
So I suppose one of the messages to take away from that is that if you're a young person, if you're a student, if you are having multiple encounters with the world of work, so going work experience, having you come in for talks, they're going to be a lot more likely to end up in a full-time position apprenticeship after they leave college. And I suppose also it's much better because you might be sitting the other side of the table when they do come in.
Yeah, and it's particularly work experience more than so. The other education engagement is our touch points to say, hi, we're here, come and find out more about us. But by doing the work experience, what you find out is that you find out what you're good at, or you find out you don't like it at all. And actually what it gives you the opportunity to do is shine in front of people that are involved with the recruitment process or can influence that recruitment process. So if I think of the young people that we've got currently waiting to hear whether they've got an interview, I know at least 6 of them, they've had good feedback off the back of their work experience. Yeah, that goes to those recruiting managers. Those recruiting managers will find out so-and-so did really well at their work experience, shows some potential. So they already come to an interview. The benefits of work experience, and this goes for any industry, not just for ours, but the benefit of work experience is it gives you something to talk about when you're answering questions. You'll be able to evidence and talk the stories about how you do things.
Yeah.
But it also means if you love the sector you've done your work experience, you can then talk their jargon. You can then talk confidently, particularly like people that have done work experience for Morgan Sindall. When they get asked the question, what do you know about the company? Well, they know loads because they've done work experience with us. When they say, well, can you give me an example of when you've worked as a team? They can answer that. So that's the benefits of work experience. And then that leads through, you have a choice. You can stay on to sixth form, you can go on to college. We recruit graduates as well as apprentices. So if you don't want to, if you want to stay in education a bit longer and do your degree, that doesn't stop you joining businesses like ours. So there's lots of options there about how you get in. You can earn and learn from the age of 18 with us, or you go and do your degree and then come and join us. And then there's an amazing wraparound service once you join our business to make sure you continue to grow and to continue to learn, and I'm a really good example of that. I'm a relatively mature young lady. And I've been given that option to be able to take my degree now. And had I been even your age, Jordan, and somebody had said to me about taking the degree, I'd have laughed at them. But it gives me all the support I need to be able to do my degree, and know that the business are investing in me at the same time. And they do that for so many people.
So do you think more people should be doing, I suppose, lifelong learning, that learning doesn't stop the second you leave secondary education, high school, college, university?
Learning never ever stops. So this new world has been a really good example. So, I'm having to learn how to do things like this. I've never ever done that. So this week I've had lots of firsts. So this is a first. Last week I did a first virtual CV and interview technique workshop. This afternoon I'm involved in a virtual presentation which students are doing. So, there is no day that's not a learning day. And sometimes it's really little diddy learnings, and other days it's huge learnings.
Fantastic. So coming back in terms of the construction sector, what do you think are some of the common misconceptions around your sector?
Okay, so I think there's two really big misconceptions. One, that it's dirty and not very safe. And we're probably, we'll never be the safest industry because, we work outside and build things. So there will be the odd accident, which is 99% is human error. And the other biggest misconception is that it's only for boys. And that's so not true. And we're really keen to affect the diversity of our workforce and make sure that anybody can believe that they can make a difference and leave a legacy, because that's what we do in our sector. So that's probably my big shout out is, this isn't a job for boys. Girls are allowed. And actually girls are very successful in our industry when they do come in, because we have a different set of skills as well as some of the same skills that the guys have. And, it's an amazing opportunity to make a difference and influence the type of builds that we're living, working, going to, and make a difference on the environment. So there's lots of reasons for women to consider our sector.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to shut up for a minute and I'm actually going to go and have a look at some of the comments that we've got in. So one from Alex Baines: what would you say to students who are expected to leave school this academic year who haven't obviously now had the ability to network or look for apprenticeships due to COVID-19? So what would your advice be to them young people?
Okay, so my biggest tip, and this goes irrelevant of COVID-19, to be honest, is start setting yourselves up pages up on LinkedIn, get your profile on there, demonstrate what you're good at, make the most of the volunteer opportunities that are out there now. COVID-19 is going to give us, there isn't a person out here that couldn't do volunteering of some sorts. So that's another good way to demonstrate actually you're being proactive and that you want to get out there and do something. Use this opportunity to perhaps do another year of learning. COVID-19 might delay things by 12 months, but 12 months in a whole lifetime is actually not very much, guys. And, use it as an opportunity rather than looking at it as the negative, I suppose, is my big tip, really. And I think, go and see what you want to make a difference in. There's so many opportunities of new ideas that we've not even considered. We don't know how long we're going to have to live with social distancing. So actually, are there things that need to be created to make the world work more easily in this new technology and virtual world? So there might be some of you out there that are entrepreneurs that can be an ideas person and create the next big thing. So I think this is a time to make the most of what opportunities are out there and demonstrate that you can do things. Do another year learning. It's not gonna be a negative at all. They're probably my biggest things. And look for companies that are offering virtual engagement with employers, because if you demonstrate that you're linking in and getting into those opportunities, so if you're in school and you're getting those letters from your career leads, I know I've got teenage sons, and then they're trying to make out, oh, we're not interested in that. But actually it might be, if you're in your year 11 or year 13, this is the perfect time you want to make the most of all of those, because that's going to be how you interact. And there's not, there are a number of us doing this type of interaction one way or another. So use those social media platforms to find those companies that are engaging with young people and make sure you're on those platforms talking with them and being part of things like this.
No, I think that's fantastic advice, and I definitely echo your comments on that one. So I also want to talk about some of the voluntary roles that you have outside of your day job. So including you're on my Cornerstone Employer Board, you're one of our enterprise advisors. I think you chair one of our boards as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about those and how you ended up being a part of it, and also how important being a volunteer is whilst you've got a day job, or indeed not, as well as part of that?
Okay, so I do lots of volunteering. The majority of my volunteering links to skills one way or another, and that's because that's something as Helen Clements I'm quite passionate about. I work in a sector that's got hundreds of opportunities, so the more chance I have to influence people to consider those opportunities, then the better it is for me. Because I cover East Anglia, I want to have a toe in each of the counties that I'm working in, so I try and be involved in voluntary groups that support anything around skills in each of those counties. I chair, as you said, the New Anglia construction sector skills group, and I actually done that as a development reason as well as the passion that I have for it. I can sometimes be quite dominant in meetings, and by being chair, that gives me the opportunity to sit back and make me listen to others, make me focus on what everybody else is doing instead of thinking about what I need to achieve. And so it's a really good way for me to develop a skill that is perhaps not one of my strongest. So, and I've also done voluntary work outside of what links to my day job. So, you know, I've volunteered and managed my son's football team for a couple of years when we thought the team was going to collapse. So all of those things enrich your life. They give you things to be interested in. They help you with your networks. They help you with new friendships. So there's just so many benefits to your volunteering, plus the difference it makes when you're doing it.
No, I think that's really important. And I also want to bring that back onto your role supporting our Cornerstone Employer Board. So for those who don't know, we have a group of Cornerstone employers who are committed to increasing encounters with the world of work in Ipswich and tackling social mobility as part of that. Morgan Sindall Construction, along with many others, support our goals and ambitions on that board as well. The main issue that we are ultimately trying to tackle is social mobility. And Helen, I want to know, what does social mobility mean to you, and why is it important to you?
Okay, so social mobility from a young person's point of view, what I get really saddened by when I go in and out of school. So if you imagine in the old world, I was probably at least one day a week, if not 2 days a week in schools. And it's young people capping their own ability, where they see themselves being able to go without, they don't necessarily dream big. Yeah. And for me, that's what drives me to want to make a difference. So social mobility is about having aspirations to improve on what you already got. Yeah, so every one of us, you know, what drives me is wanting to be improved. I want my children to have the things I didn't have. And, you know, if there's young people listening to this, this is what the sorts of things your parents want from you. And that's why, as a Cornerstone, I have an opportunity to influence and give those young people those ability to see all the amazing things that are on their doorstep. You know, we have some amazing companies in and around Ipswich, and actually across East Anglia. You know, there's some amazing opportunities, whether it's in our sector or in others. And being a Cornerstone gives us the opportunity to help raise the awareness to young people, what is on their doorstep, what opportunities that they have. You know, you don't have to be an academic. You have to have passion and drive to get to where you need to get to. Yeah, you know, and that's what's, for me, that's what social mobility is about. It's about actually understanding what you need. So let's take construction. To work in East Anglia in construction, you need to be able to drive. Yeah, you will cap your ability to work in our sector if you don't learn to drive. And there's other sectors that have other challenges, and if you don't know what those challenges are to know to overcome them, then you will cap where you'll live. You'll cap what you want to be able to do. Social mobility, and part of what I do around inspiration, is about helping young people be able to have choices. You know, it's not about earning the amount of money. It's about actually being able to have the chance to have choices, do I buy the Lamborghini or do I buy the Fiesta? It's that's what you get from interacting with businesses and finding out about job roles and then going out to work and working your way up. It gives you choices and you can decide what you want to do. If you limit that because you don't believe that you can do it, you won't have those choices. And that to me is something I'm quite passionate about, that young people can have choices.
I think that's fantastic advice. And I've also just seen a comment, what have we got? After you left school, did you think that it was that, you know, it was it for your education after leaving with those grades, not potentially feeling as academic as some of your peers as well?
So I am not an academic at all, right? And even now I pinch myself to know that I'm doing my degree. But actually what it does, it cements what I've already learned, and it's given me the confidence to know, one, I know more than I know, or I thought I knew, if that makes sense. And two, it's given me the opportunity to learn a whole new set of skills to help develop my role that I'm doing now. And the degree I'm doing is quite a broad degree, so that keeps my CV, not that I ever dream that I'll be leaving the job I'm in, but it just keeps it so it's fresh, and it gives me some added value to show that I'm competent at something. And I see that one of the questions is how are you handling full-time work, family and studying? Well, there's sometimes when the plates drop. Sometimes it is difficult. And that, I suppose, is something else, you know, I would say to people, you know, when you push yourself, it is challenging, but actually there's so much sense of achievement when you get through it. So currently I'm writing a 6,000 word assignment. So Sundays are now renamed to 1,000 word Sunday, because that's what my target is. And my family know that on a Sunday, that's my 1,000 words. But, you know, I'm setting an example to my young people. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can sit and learn. And actually sometimes, you know, you have to give up something to better yourself. So, you know, they're all the things that I would say. And, you know, education isn't necessarily just a certificate. You will learn something every day of your life. And that is, education is about learning. And sometimes it's formally, like my degree, and sometimes it's informally, because I'm learning best practice of colleagues or, you know, people I see in other businesses. We call it Steal with Pride, a group of me and my colleagues, when we're taking best practice from other people. So we're stealing it with pride, or magpieing, because it's nice and shiny and it's going to improve what we're doing.
It's a good idea. Why not? So before we wrap up, I can see a couple more questions. What would be your advice to young people, and especially those young people who are now about to go for another transition, which they haven't had the usual amount of support that schools, colleges, perhaps parents would give? What's your advice to them before we wrap up for today's session?
Okay, guys, you are getting the best opportunity because you are learning independent learning, which doesn't tend to happen so much in mainstream education. You're getting to learn resilience, yeah? You're learning some amazing communication skills because you're having to do things virtually. Make the most of those opportunities that gives you, and make that give you the confidence that you can go and achieve whatever you want to achieve. And hopefully some of you will join our business.
Fantastic. That's good advice. Right. I can't see any more questions, so I'll bid you farewell. And thank you so much for your time today, Helen.
No, thank you.
I know we'll be in touch again soon, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that was our first session with Helen Clements from Morgan Sindall Construction. So thank you to everybody who's been sat there with coffee, listening to us talking about Helen's career. As I've said previously, we are hosting these virtual Q&As every Tuesday and Thursday, 12:30 to 1, to give an insight, to also give a break in between the days, learn about people's careers, to talk about some of the skills that we think young people need in the world of work. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, 12:30, on your Anglia Local Enterprise Partnership website and YouTube channel. So check us out, and looking forward to seeing you again this Thursday. Cheers.